So I'd like to call the East Lyme Board of Finance regular meeting today, Wednesday, January 12th at 7 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the agenda, we'd like...
Okay, before the meeting starts, officially, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to make an addition to do business under calling it item D, which should read as follows. Appointments to the town's ad hoc committee to evaluate the American Rescue Plan fund expenditures.
Second.
Vote.
All those in favor of amending the agenda to include item D under new business?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? The motion carries unanimously. Next on the agenda is delegations. This is where any member of the public can address any of the items that are on tonight's agenda. Do I have anyone in the public who'd like to speak to any item on the agenda? Seeing no, we'll move on to item 4, approval of minutes. First, the regular meeting of November 10th, 2021. As you recall, we had a missing page, and so we had tabled the November 10 minutes at our last meeting. Everyone has indicated they had a chance to review the missing page. Do I have a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of November 10th?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the meeting minutes from November 10th, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have the minutes from December 8th, 2021. Does anyone have any corrections or comments? I only have one very small one under K, executive session, where there was a typo that called me Mr. Hall. So for the record, Miss or Mrs. or Ms. or whatever, just not Mr., I guess.
I move to approve the minutes of December 8th.
Oop, 1 second.
I have one other correction. On page 4, under board comments, it has Mr. Steele said that he applauded Mr. Siri for setting up an ARP committee. He also noted that Mr. Putnam had looked for dollars for the boardwalk. I didn't note that Mr. Putnam had done that. I questioned if he did.
Okay, so can we amend the minutes to just say question?
Yes, please.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So this next on the agenda is reports. We have Jeff Newton here from the Board of Education, Superintendent.
Hi, everyone.
1 second, I'm going to switch over to camera.
Want to get your good side.
Thank you, Peter. I don't think there is one, but I appreciate it.
Show the other camera.
Really? Yeah, this one here.
This is why we're looking for a student to do this.
We're happy to help out with that. Hopefully we can.
Yeah, I talked to Grant, we were talking to Grant about it the other night. So.
Definitely. Yeah, we have some excellent ones that are very good at that sort of things.
That'd be great.
Perfect.
Okay.
All set?
All set.
Okay, all right. Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to share some information. Two major items I'd just like to bring forward. One is, or the first is COVID. Obviously, as a school district and across the state and across the country, we've been dealing with this onslaught of cases and all that has brought along, with it. So it's been very challenging. We've been lucky as a district to not have disruption. First off, remote, learning. I can't as a superintendent decide to take the district to remote. That's the governor's choice. There's a lot of questions about that. Parents asking, why can't you go remote? We need to go remote. And I have no power to do that. So I'd like to just publicly state that as many times and as often as I can. That's the governor's decision. If we have to close, we close and we have to make it up. And we have to make sure still we get 180 school days for children in. So there's no remote option. It's been in-person learning. I think we've done well. We've battled with a number of absences. For instance, yesterday we had 49 staff absences just related to COVID and sickness across our population of the 5 schools. Today we had 48. So hopefully the trend, 49 to 48, will continue to go down. That's our hope, and I really hope we're cresting and at the top of this peak with this most recent wave. It has been impactful. Subs have been extremely challenging to obtain. We are offering some compensation to teachers who want to give up their prep period and cover a class for us. They know the school, they know the kids, the routines. That has seemed to work out pretty well. Paraprofessionals as well, we've had them covering and compensating. Everybody's been working overtime and double time, and I just want to shout out kudos, as I did at the Board of Ed meeting this past Monday night, to all of our staff. They're really they're doing all they can to get us through this. And we're luckily, again, in a much better place than some other districts where we haven't had to close at all, we haven't had any disruption. Our transportation, our busing has been spot on. So they've had some drivers that have had issues and have had COVID and been out, but we've been able to have subs. So that's worked out well. Kits and masks we distributed. All those, we've obtained about 1,000 testing kits, home testing kits last week, and Chief Finkelstein provided us about 995 masks. We distributed those last week as well, and that seems to be going well. We're expecting another shipment, I just heard today, of masks that are coming through the government, so we'll hope to see those soon. Sports is a whole nother world. We're trying to remain as much with normalcy as possible in the world of sports. There's return to play protocols, a lot of questions. We just got new guidance yesterday that came out pertaining from the CIAC as well as DPH. So there's a lot involved in the quarantine time frame, 5 days, 10 days, because that recently changed too for students going to school. It's no longer a 10, it's a 5-day quarantine. So we're trying to continue to ensure that sports remain in play, and a lot of kids again have tested positive, but we're continuing on. Fans and spectators, we're addressing those pieces as well. There has been an impact on SEL, which kind of social and emotional learning. We've seen a lot of disruption the disruption from last year has really impacted students this year, behavior-wise, just readjusting. And we've really, this year honestly has been tougher than last year in many ways. We thought it was going to be a much different year, and it hasn't been. Very challenging, which leads to my second topic of budget. In our budget proposal, I just proposed a 4.59% increase to the Board of Ed this past Monday night. And a lot of our presentation wrapped around recovery efforts. Recovery that's happened this year that really is going to continue, we're finding, into next year. And the social worker supports, psychologist supports, trying to maintain class sizes that are very appropriate in meeting the needs of students. Just from my presentation Monday night, we had moved some teachers around. I've already received many emails from parents requesting and saying we can't do with one less teacher there. So we're going to work through that, and we're going to collaborate. We have guidelines for the Board of Ed on our class sizes. So we have a 4.59 that we present. We're going to work through that with the Board of Education. Some of the drivers, the major budget drivers in that increase focus around inflation. We've got a 4 to 5% inflation that we factored in. Our salaries, of course, are sitting around the 3% increases across the board. Right out of the gate, that's roughly 1.2 million in salaries for over 600 employees across the district. So we factor that in. Fuel and gas, natural gas especially, and propane are all up. Electricity, we're expecting, to have a greater jump, next year there. So we're working through that. Nursing, we've had an increase in the need for nursing for students in the world of special education and supporting some additional students. New students that have moved into district as well have required some one-to-one supports and one-to-one aids. And we have had reductions too. We are following and tracking enrollment closely. So we have reduced, we're planning to cut out a KEEV at the middle school, which reduces a handful of FTE positions because of enrollment. So we're really staying tuned with making sure that, when we need, but when we can reduce, we reduce as well to make sure there's a balance there. And health insurance, the last piece of the driver, we're in the state partnership plan with the state. We've put in a 5% increase, not knowing kind of where it's going to land. Last year, it was about 1.5% of an increase. We hope that the 5% drops to that 1 to 2% range. Again, we don't know for sure, but just from what our broker's telling us, they said land around 5%, so that's what we did. Each percent we get to drop is a reduction of $62,000. So hopefully, it will come down, and that will help reduce our overall budget number. So a lot of information. All of our budget information is out on our website too. Feel free if you want to hop on, look at our slides or our object code detail. It's all out there. We look forward to working collaboratively with all of you as a new group and get working through the process. And thanks to many of you for coming to our budget workshops as well that we had those two. Any questions at all that I can answer? We'll be spending a lot more time together come March, and looking forward to those discussions. So, all right.
I don't see any. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Kevin Siri, our first selectman here for his report.
Thank you, and I think what we talked about last time with Mr. Putnam and the boardwalk is there is some funds left from that FEMA award from a couple years ago where Mr. Putnam and I have talked about possibly using some of that money to refinish and clear up some of the cracks on the boardwalk for another topic too. Town emails. So we'll start with some good news. We're just about there. We've identified where the funding's going to come from. The thing we had a little bit of trying to decide how to do it was how to the first name at right now for all town hall employees, all department heads and so forth. It's at eastlimetownhall.com. Well, the thought was if we gave that to all the board and commission members, if you sent out a general email to the town hall staff, to the town staff, it goes everywhere else. So it looks like we're probably going to go with at eastlimetownboard.com or .org, something along those lines. We'll know that within the next couple of days, and within the next couple of weeks, everybody should have on the commission boards and commissions their own town email address. So that was good. Same thing that Mr. Superintendent brought up, COVID. In the last 2 weeks, last year at this time in January, the entire month of January in 2021, we had 361 positive cases in East Lyme. To date, as of today, or as of Monday, we had 440 this year. So more cases, but far less severity. And previous week in East Lyme, we had 131. So last week, we had from Monday through Sunday, because that's how it goes, we had 131. Some people, we have in all our town our town buildings, we have a mask mandate. I have had a few, not many, requests for a townwide mandate. I've talked to Legislate, and I've also talked to the police chief. Those are impossible really to enforce. And going through stores, Stop and Shop, Costco, Tri-Town, the vast majority of people now are wearing masks anyway. And the ones that wouldn't be, it'd be hard to, you're not going to be allowed to really do much about that because enforceability is a big concern. Couple conference calls I've been on. A lot of CEOs for towns have requested through the Department of Connecticut's Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security to have the governor put one in, but he hasn't done that either. So far, over the last 2 weeks, the town, not including the Board of Ed, has had 17 positive cases throughout the town halls, police department, fire department, public works, and community center. And almost all have had no symptoms to very minor symptoms. One person had a little bit more seriousness but did not require any hospitalizations. Handing out of masks. We've been handing out the KN95 masks here at Town Hall, the Community Center. We did it Saturday morning. We had 316 people come in Saturday morning, and you'd get 2 for each member of the household. And they're good for, if you take care of them, they're not overused too much, for 2 to 3 days apiece. We have a good supply. Tomorrow night we'll be open late, or from 4 to 6 we'll be issuing them here again as well. Test kits, we were at one time supposed to get 2,300 from the state in the initial disbursement. That wound up at 1,300. And we tried to sign up, as you saw with that, which the people that got on it worked really well. The thousands that tried and couldn't, it did not work out well. Our Parks and Rec sign-up site, which we used for that, was meant to sign up for aerobics classes, not for Rolling Stone tickets. And that's what was the problem. We almost killed our website doing that, so it's not meant to do that. So this Saturday, it's on our website. It's on our website. It's on Public Safety as well on Channel 22. At 8 a.m. we're going to hand out 1,100 kits, 1 per car, at the middle school. We're going to use 2 lanes going in, looping all the way around the middle school and going back around the fields. And everybody, proof of residency, you'll get 1 kit. I wish I had 20,000. I wish the town had 20,000 because that's how many we need. We have 1,100. And might we get more? Yes. But until we actually have them, as we've seen what happened once before, until we actually have them, we don't say anything. We have given a small supply to Kathy Wilson, who's distributed them to some of the senior communities and so forth. So if they're needed, they will be there. And we have emphasized, if you're not at risk and don't feel you've been exposed, please don't, if you can, not use a kit, that's fine. These are for some of the people like at HEPA. They don't get out, but they may have someone coming in to care for them that could be exposed. So we want to be sure that's taken care of. Moving on, the public safety building. The roof is in progress, and if the weather holds, it could be done by the end of the week. That's the if part, because it's moisture sensitive. And last night's cold was a bit too, but today they're able to get some done because it warmed up enough. Dispatch will be moving next Wednesday, the 19th. They're scheduled to go. Everything is lined up for that. I think I mentioned the fire marshal is already there. The police will be starting to move in on a large scale on the 26th. So we're getting really close and totally operational, meaning able to house prisoners by early to mid-February. Because there's a couple things that need to be fine-tuned with the electronics and the so forth, the fob and the lockup facilities. We still need to make sure everything's done so that all the electronics works fine there. Moving on to the Erp Subcommittee, we did appoint that, or form that at our Board of Selectmen meeting on the 5th of January. From the Board of Selectmen, Ann Santoro and Ann Cicchello will be representing the Board of Selectmen. Tonight you'll appoint a couple members of that. From the 501Cs that we talked about, Pandy Wohler, she's active with Children's Museum, and I know she's been very active with the Miracle League, so she's got some 501 experience, but she won't be representing any of the 501Cs that might be asking for money, so we thought that would be a good, so there'd be no conflict there. Rita Rivera from the business community. Rita is active with Main Street, but she's at the north end of town, the middle part of town. Anytime there's a ribbon cutting, she's very active with all the businesses in town, so we figured she'd be a great representative there. And from the community, we did 2 reps instead of 1. Eileen Cahill and Lee Edwards, both have been active in the community. And it was nice, we had other members of the community. Brian Burridge, who's the vets representative, the veterans representative for East Lyme, was interested, but we figured he'd be better advocating for them rather than trying to, separate and do that. And as the language says, the Board of Selectmen will have final authority on what they want to move forward to your board for approval of it. And that this committee is just advisory, but we want their input. And we did say that we want to definitely address the infrastructure of the town. That's a big concern for us. Regarding Hathaway Farms, because that's been a concern too, our council has sent a letter requesting exactly what the parcel is, the boundaries of it, the acreage, and the cost. So an actual letter for specification. They are conducting a title search, and I am meeting with an appraiser. I tried to meet, supposed to meet a couple weeks ago, but he had to back out, so we're meeting up so we conduct an appraisal. And at our Board of Select meeting, our first one, back in December, which was after we met here. Ann Santoro was appointed the deputy first selectman. Dan Cunningham is the second deputy. Regarding budgets, I'm reviewing them with department heads now. And the first selectman's budget will go to the Board of Selectmen on the February 2nd. And as Dave pointed out, Mr. Jeff pointed out, right now we're looking at about a $60,000 increase in fuel costs for next year. We already know that because we've locked in that amount, down from 75 for fuel and supplies. And I'm going to be in the process of negotiating with all 4 bargaining units this year. Most of them, the maximum they had over the last couple of years were 2.5%. With inflation, we know that's not going to probably be the case. So with inflation, that's going to have an impact on us too, although we don't have really any good idea what percent that will be yet. So I think that covers. On a good note, starting this past Saturday and for the next several months at Smith Acres from 2 to 5 every Saturday is the Winter Farmers Market. So be sure and stop in. It's a lot of fun. Give you something to do on a cool or cold weekend up here now. So, but that's it. And any questions, I'd be glad to try and answer.
Does anyone have any questions for the first selectman? No? I would just like to say that I did go through the getting a test kit, and I just want to applaud everybody that was working and put that together. I know it was a lot of hard work this way, but it looked pretty seamless on the front end. So
it was an education,
yeah.
and most people have been really great. I mean, there are some frustrations. We understand that, and I'm sure I would feel the same way. But it's been a learning experience for us, and we're trying to make it better. Whenever we get test kits available to us, and now there's, I think, it's a little easier to get them online or going to a vendor as well now. So let's hope that I've talked to a couple people. My son being in healthcare, and I said, when is the curve going to come down? He said, you'll see it come down when it comes down, because they don't want to be exact. We are a couple percent points below where we were yesterday statewide, so let's just hope that trend continues. Thank you.
great, thank you. Next on the agenda is a report from our Director of Finance, Anna Johnson.
Good evening. In your packets were the general fund reports, the month budget, a month summary comparing this year to date to last year, along with the up-to-date revenue status through December and the budget reports. I don't know, does anyone have any questions on the reports? Yes, Richard.
There is something on page 16 of the detailed expenditure reports. It's in the gray area where Historic Properties Commission is. It's the middle of the page. And there's a line CAFR :01 total that's underneath the Historic Properties Commission total. That it's a large number, and I'm not sure what that is.
Right, so for reporting purposes, like any of the budget numbers that are coded 0101 means general government. So if you go down to the next series of numbers after that, 0125, 25s are all the public safety departments. So that total, budgeted amount of $8.6 million includes all the departments beginning with 101 through 139.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr.
On the summary page, the workers' compensation, it's almost 89,000. Is that high?
That's a quarterly payment.
Okay. Oh, that's
So
the
that's
payment?
for the premium.
That's
not
for the
policy.
premium, okay.
Right, yeah, so we pay quarterly.
Okay.
So that was a quarterly payment.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just like, also you'll know, East Lyme Public Library, the $288,000, that's a quarterly, subsidy payment to
Right,
them.
to that, okay.
Paul, you've got.
Yeah, on the revenue side, the education cost sharing, I believe that comes from the state. What's the schedule on those payments? Are they,
So we'll receive another one either like at the end of March, early early April, and then the final one comes in June.
Okay. And just going on that same vein on the tuition from Salem, is that also
Okay,
gonna catch up, or?
so what happens with the tuitions that come from Salem, and then we do have a few other smaller tuitions that come in. So for Salem, we bill them for 10 months, starting in September through June.
Mhm.
However, they don't get billed. What happens is at the end of the month, they have to get any special education costs that may, apply to Salem students. So it takes the Board of Ed some time to get that information all reconciled. Once they do that, they bill Salem. So far to date, we've received three payments from Salem, when in reality, we should have received 4 already.
Okay, so this schedule is based on received, it's not billed?
Correct.
Then we got the revenue side. Do you provide, is there like either quarterly or monthly balance sheet that comes with this report?
There hasn't been, but if you would like one, we can do that.
Yeah, I love a balance sheet.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Anna, we're 58% of the way through the year. Is there anything that is concerning at this point? I know a lot of the things kind of come in lumpy stuff, so.
Yeah, so the one of the things, the one thing that I'm looking, I keep an eye on are the public safety, in particular, the fire departments, their part-time and overtime accounts, and the police overtime. The police overtime's doing rather well, and then the dispatch, I believe I'm not sure if it's their overtime or their part-time dispatch account. That's trending a little bit high. I reach out to the departments, to say, hey, what do you want to do here? The other account in salaries is the part-time building officials. That's a little, if he's going to keep up at this rate, I put him on notice. He's going to need to deal with a possible shortfall. We've already talked about the fire marshal, part-time fire marshals. They have gone, really drawn back on the hours that they're working. So I'm sure that when we meet with the fire marshal to review his budget, we will have a discussion on that topic. And then I also included, an estimated unassigned fund balance report, and along with that, it includes revenues received to date, and then the projections through the end of the fiscal year, so you can see, what expectation, what the estimate is, as of, a point in time, meaning after the end of December, and then what I'm estimating for January through the rest of the fiscal year.
And if that comes to pass, that 14.4% fund balance would be pretty healthy.
Absolutely. And actually, if the projections say, as I'm projecting, this will be we're establishing a trend of having 3 consecutive fiscal years with, really strong operating results.
Thank you. And I know we've also, thank you for including, we asked for a couple of reports to be included in our package tonight. Paul, you had asked for the audit letter, and I had also asked for last year's assessor's report. I'm going to talk a little bit about that under board comments later in the evening.
Okay.
It's one thing in regard just on the documents on the audit. I know the field work was going to be rescheduled. Have they been in to do the field work?
They're going to start coming in after next week.
Okay. Do they have have they given you an estimated completion date, or?
We're going to try to target the end of February.
Okay. 2/28 is when they'll be done with the like the engagement, or that's when they should submit the report?
We're gonna try to submit, but that could be a little tight.
Okay. And we don't have any other, does somebody on the board is also copied on correspondence from the auditors? Or does it just go to you and then you?
With regards to?
Any correspondence from the outside auditors on the?
So the engagement letter would go to the Board of
I'm just saying
Finance
ongoing
too.
communications that we get throughout the audit. Do they send any communications during the audit?
They typically come through to me, yeah, yes.
Okay, are they copied to somebody on the, I don't know if there's a subcommittee for
So
the auditor.
actually, in the past, Mr. Steele and I believe Ms. Alberti were set up as an audit committee.
Okay, just want to make sure, because we have the governance oversight for that. Just want to
Correct.
make sure that any correspondence, we should probably go to the chair at this point until we can.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
And I would expect that when we get through the audit, that we would have the opportunity to sit down with the auditors and discuss the audit, right?
Yes, and
Okay.
they'll come actually to a board meeting.
Okay. But got some new Board of Finance members here, so I'm trying to figure out all the order of things,
Yeah.
so. Good. Does anyone have any other questions for Anna? Nope? Okay, great, thank you very much. Next on the agenda is new business. Item A, Special Appropriation, Fund 18, Special Revenue Fund, Parks and Rec, Tent, 9,609. I believe we have Dave Putnam here
Sure,
to
so
discuss this item.
Dave Putnam, Park and Rec Director. When we use monies out of our special revenue fund, when we set this up in 2010, there was a requirement that we needed a Park and Rec approval, Board of Selectmen approval, and Board of Finance approval before moving forward with the purchase. We do have Park and Rec approval. The last Board of Selectmen meeting, they did approve this expenditure, and then it is before you tonight for approval. We did go out and get 3 quotes, and the lowest quote was Eureka Tent Company, and that's what we're recommending moving forward with. If you want particular details, Mike McDowell, our recreation supervisor, is here that can provide. He's the one that procured the quotes and the bids and that kind of stuff. If you have particular questions, we're here to answer any of those questions. So, yeah.
I was noticing the bids, and Eureka's bid was approximately $9,600,
Correct.
and the next lowest bid was a little over $10,000.
Right.
That's like, give or take, $400 difference.
Correct.
Was there any reason other than our $400 that you picked Eureka over Top Tech?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons we really like the design of it too. It's a 3-pole design. It's much easier for us to take it down and put it back up. The other one we had was a framed tent, and that got a little laborious for us to take it up and put it down when we had a storm coming or even at the end of the year. So I think we looked at that, and then we really liked the design and felt really comfortable with that quote. So, and then it came in. That's kind of what we wanted, and it came in as the low bid as well. So we were pleased with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
This is that big tent at McCook's where all the
Yeah,
events
the other
are under?
one we were putting Band-Aids on, after for 7 years, and we bought it used. Originally, we bought it when the pavilion was out of commission, when they were doing that was the construction area for the boardwalk.
Right,
So we
right,
bought
right,
that
right.
as a supplement to the pavilion, because the pavilion was out of use for 2 years, and people really liked it, and we continue to rent it on
Yeah,
on
it's
a
all- it's
weekend
used
and
a lot,
yeah,
yeah.
it's used a lot, so it's
Yeah.
become a nice amenity to the park.
Yeah, given that this is a revenue opportunity, can, maybe for any viewers, you can tell us, what are the opportunities, who rents it, how much, how
Right,
frequently?
yeah, sure. So during the season, it's rented to residents. I think we're at $185 for a full day to rent that, and it comes with 10 parking passes for that as well. So it is a pretty viable option for, people that want to have showers, family reunions. We've had weddings up there. The only thing, we don't get a lot of those because the deed of a cook is no alcohol in the park. So, but we do get that is rented on a regular basis. So, and we're looking at the fees. Actually, the Park and Rec Commission tomorrow night will look at the fees each year as they do each year, and we'll set a new fees for that for this coming summer. So.
And people can rent that by going on the Parks and Rec site?
Yeah, they contact us, right, correct, yeah, and then we have our rec desk system that we have that then we can put that reservation into the system and people get an email confirmation and that kind of thing. So yes, we do that, and it is very well. I mean, we thought we'd get rid of that tent after a couple of years that we used it for the pavilion, but we were renting both, and it's become very popular. So.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else with any questions? All right. Would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $9,609 in Parks and Recreation Special Revenue Fund 18 to account number 18-45-421-600-101, tent-McCook's source of funds being passport sales receipts within the fund.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, special appropriation and transfer contingency, $6,934, Assessor Department. Anna, do you want to speak to this, or Kevin?
Okay. As I think most everyone is aware, our assessor's been out for an extended period due to an injury. I did have the opportunity to talk to her yesterday. She sounds really good. She's looking forward to getting back within a short period of time, being several weeks. So some good news there. We'll have a little bit more finite information shortly. But here again, as we pointed out, we lost one person in there, Chris Dixon, when she got moved over to the tax collector's office, plus another person left. We've had one internal person move over there with a little bit of experience in that office, and then someone else who's new. We've had a couple other assessors in there helping with the grand list preparation and when they had the time to be doing some training. They'll be both finishing up within the next week or so. We do have an individual who's willing to come in and provide some training and mentoring for our two people. And we think that'll be very helpful going into the season we're coming in. As you know, the reval letters have been out. There's some other items that need to be done. And both the people in there, Jess and Daphne, are both very, very good. They just need that little extra training. And this individual has also been recommended by our current assessor too. She's aware of this person and spoke highly of her and recommended that we retain her services. So this amount of money will get us through the period up through the March timeframe, and we do have the contingency and so forth to fund this. Anna, anything to add to that?
I think you did a good job.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question, Kevin.
Sure.
I noticed there's probably up to 5 people at different times coming in to help in the assessor's office. After March, what happens?
And from what we're planning right now, our assessor will be back at that point.
Okay.
She may not be back for the full time, but she'll be she'll be able to come in for a significant part of the week. So.
And will any of these people be helping her for any length of time or not?
No, the current person that will finish up
And that's
about when she comes back. So.
okay.
Yes.
Anyone else have questions? Well, it's certainly a busy time of year in the assessor's office, so.
Well, and this is the 10-year reval too, so on top of it, it's.
No, well, all right, so,
Good.
did you have a,
No, I don't have any questions.
okay, do you want to make a motion?
Do you want to make a page?
Okay, I'll make the motion, okay. I didn't know what you were pointing at.
I'm blaming you.
I showed up for work. Okay. Move to appropriate and transfer $6,934 from account 01-01-120-200-500, parentheses, contingency, on parentheses, as follows. 2,300 to 01-01-102. Now I know why you asked me to read this. I'm going to start again. 01-01-102-200-216, contract services. $4,146 to account 01-01-102-100-412, part-time clerical, and $488 to account 01-01-102-100-311, assessment aids. Period.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item C, special appropriation and transfer contingency, $23,906, Niantic Fire Department.
I'll start and then turn it over to Chief Barone. About a month ago, Chief Barone contacted me. They had a fire engine, it's 10 years old, that they thought had just some type of an oil pressure problem. It turned out to be a much more serious problem, a header, and he'll give a lot more specifics on what the cause of this were and so forth like that. But the cost for repairing it was $23,906, as you see right here. And he only had about $22,000 remaining in his maintenance line. Anna did a good job of detailing over the past few fiscal years. They had $25,000, and they basically spent down to within a couple hundred of that, or a few hundred of that each year at the end of it. So there was obviously a need for some replenishment to this account. There was only one quote obtained, and the purchasing policy does request more than that, or demand more than that. But we were minus a fire engine. This place had the parts, and this was the place that would provide the parts anyway. If we had to move the vehicle to get assessed at a different facility, we would have had to pay probably a couple $1,000s per tow to get it there, because the vehicle had to been there. And then there would have been a lead time on parts, because this is who they would be getting the parts from. So based on that, and the fact that we did not want to be without a fire engine for any length of time, I authorized an exception to the purchasing policy, and a purchase order was approved to fix the vehicle. It is back in service, and now I'll let the chief get up and answer any specific questions regarding the fire engine that was repaired.
Thank you. Barone, welcome.
Good evening. I don't know what you want me to tell you. The money was in our budget. We actually need that money back to, as you see, we spend it every year, and those expenses are for maintenance of the trucks that we have. There normally is some money in there for major repairs. Out of this budget, I've had to rebuild an injector pump in one truck. Then this came about before we started the maintenance projects, which normally November, December. And so the money being there, we had to get the job done. It would still be down if I'd taken it someplace else. And we rely on our vendor that does our maintenance on our pumps, and we have generators and so forth that we rely on them to do maintenance. So I took it to them and talked with them and argued with them, spoke with them, and that's where we're at. So what I'm asking for is to replace the money, so that right now I'm behind on maintenance on a number of vehicles. I have not committed to spend any more.
Well, certainly this is not a good time to be down a piece of fire equipment. So, and just for our listeners, what would a new vehicle cost?
The former group gave us $680,000 to purchase a new truck now, so I thought that $23,000 to get one fixed that's gonna do the job was pretty reasonable. Not that I wanna spend that, but it was a catastrophic failure that no matter how much maintenance you do, you can't foresee something like that.
And the expected remaining life of the vehicle?
Hopefully another 15 years.
What year is it?
That's a 2011.
Okay.
It's the newest one that we have. We're
Mhm.
running a 2019, that's not a 2019, I'm sorry. A
Okay.
1991.
Mm.
This one's a 2011, and the middle one I think is like 15 years old.
Okay.
And I will point out that the chief actually, he felt very badly asking for this money too. He said he tried everything to try and avoid this expenditure, but, he said, I think did a great job saying with the newer, more environmentally sensitive engines, they burn hotter, which makes them more prone to this. And he is also trying to do what he can to see if he can pursue anything under some type of warranty to maybe get some money back, but he is looking at investigating that avenue as well.
Anyone have any more questions for the chief? Thank you very much. Want to make this motion? Okay.
Sure, I'll do that. Move to appropriate and transfer $23,906 from account 01-01-120-200-500 contingency to account 01-25-217-200-220 vehicle maintenance.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstained? No. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item D, appointments to the ad hoc committee to review expenditures of the American Rescue Plan funds. As the first selectman pointed out, they have established a fund to review these expenditures, and 2 people from the Board of Finance will be appointed to this ad hoc committee. I have asked Paul Maxfield and Richard Steele if they would be willing to serve on this committee. Both have said that they would be willing to do that. So tonight I would like this group to consider appointing Richard and Paul to this committee. Does anyone have any questions or concerns, anything that they'd like to ask of the first selectman in regard to the committee? All right. I'm going to make this motion. I would like to make a motion to appoint Paul Maxfield and Richard Steele to the newly formed committee to review the expenditure of American Rescue Plan funds.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Another night out of the house.
So, item 7, old business, the Board of Finance bylaws. As you recall from our previous meeting, we were looking to review the Board of Finance bylaws at the start of each year. And I had made just a couple of suggestions to make it a little bit more clear on the difference between delegations and public discussion. To make it clear that delegations is where the public can speak to items on the agenda, as opposed to public discussion, where the public can talk to any item that might come before the Board of Finance. So it just cleared that up a little bit. I think everybody has had a chance to review them. So at this point, I would look for a motion to approve the amended bylaws.
I move to approve the amended bylaws of the Board of Finance in January 2022.
If I may?
Yep.
So in the bylaws, under Article 9, so this meeting, you are reading, discussing the changes, so
Yep.
it wouldn't be until the next meeting that you can actually approve them.
Oh, I thought because we had discussed it at the last meeting, exactly what we were going to.
Well, because it says only after the proposed change has been read and discussed. So
Okay.
we didn't have the language for the change at the last meeting.
Okay.
So technically, it would have to go on to the next.
Okay, so then we'll move that to old business for the next
Now,
meeting.
Anna, when we read the motion next time, do we have to read the changes specifically or just say amended?
As amended, it's fine.
Yeah, okay.
And then we can attach them to the minutes
Yeah.
for that meeting as well.
Okay, so then we will include that on our next meeting. Okay, so now we're going to move to public discussion. We only have one person in the public left. He's good, so I think we're all set there. Then we have board comments. Does anyone have any comments that they'd like to make? Okay, so I just have a few in regard to reval, because as people are receiving their new property assessments in the mail, I thought it might be helpful to review a little bit about the reval process. We've noticed that there's already some discussion out there on Facebook sites with people getting confused, so I thought this would be a good opportunity. So the last reval was completed in 2016. State law requires that towns do this every 5 years. The reassessment project will establish the market value as of October 1st, 2021, and will be reflected in the tax bills issued in the summer of 2022. So Connecticut law requires all real estate, motor vehicles, and certain types of personal property be assessed at 70% of fair market value. So when people get their assessments, they will see the fair market value as well. Fair market value is defined as the price established between a willing buyer and a willing seller, taking into the consideration the uses of the property. So Connecticut courts establish criteria which our assessors must use to establish that value. The total assessments of all listed property is called the grand list. The annual budget determines the amount of property taxes needed to operate the town. The mill rate is then determined by dividing the amount of property taxes needed to operate the town by the taxable grand list as is prepared by the assessor. So the tax bill people receive in July 1 will be based on your new assessment. The mill rate usually changes annually because the budget and the budget changes each year. So, and the grand list will change. So the new town budget and the mill rate will be adopted in May of 2022. It's really important because I have seen people already questioning this, not to try to estimate your July 2022 tax bill by multiplying your new assessment by the previous mill rate. The new mill rate will probably be lower if property values have increased and/or grand list has grown with new development. So I just want people not to be panicking, looking at their new property value and then going to the mill rate and thinking their taxes have gone up appreciably. So the whole timing of the process, if you haven't received it in the mail now, you can go to the town's website and go to the vision and look up your address and you will see it. During January, there will be some informal hearings. And in February, the result of those informal hearings will be mailed. During March, the Board of Assessment Appeals application process will take place. And then, of course, you have the Board of Assessment Appeals decisions will then follow that. Between March and May, we'll all be consumed with the budget process. And then in May, the mill rate gets established. In June, June 30th, 2022, those tax bills based on those new values and the new mill rate will be mailed. And then between July 1 and August 1, the tax bills will be due and payable. So that's sort of the whole process. I really, really encourage people to go to the town's website. The assessor site has all sorts of FAQs on the whole process. It's a really, really helpful site. So if you have questions, that's the better place to go rather than on Facebook looking for answers. So just wanted to point that out to everybody. And so knowing that this is key for this board to really think about, I asked for last year's report from the assessor to go through the assessment so we can take a look, where are we going, because lots of times things can shift. You could have property values change because one area of town has gotten more popular, it's in walking distance to the center or something like that. So that can change as you get more commercial property. You may see a shift between commercial and retail as a total component of the grand list. So all of those things kind of go into this, and I think it's good to have that to see where it went from one year to the next. So that's my comment for this evening. And again, it's a really, really big project, and it takes a long time. So I appreciate all the folks who have kind of come together to get this done in light of the assessor's accident. So, anyone else have any comments or questions? Or all right.
All right, move we adjourn.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.